Hi there, my name is Gillian from New Roots Community Group. Here at New Roots Community Group, we have curated a special set of online workshops designed to help you, the community, best navigate this current ever-changing social and economic climate that we find ourselves in. We have a wide range of advice, everything from finance to career to mental well-being to health to fitness. We've got it all. We've got the best of the best giving you tips, support and advice to help you become the best person that you can be, to live your best lives and to empower you to just go out there and do what needs to be done, because we're not going to let a pandemic stop us. We're going to keep going. So our first talk is finance based, and today I have here with me Natalie Scott from Natalie Scott Empowers and Linda Mensah from the Sika platform, and we will be talking everything finance, giving you tips, support, advice and just getting nitty and gritty with what we need to help everyone out there. So thank you so much for joining me today, ladies. My first, three questions are: I'd like you to tell me who you are, what you do, and most importantly, your why.
Lovely. So I'm Natalie Scott and I'm a money mindset and savings coach from London. My aim is to educate, elevate and empower young people on their personal finance journey, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, simply because for my own journey, not really having that guidance, I want to give that guidance back. So that links into my why am I doing this, is because I want everyone to feel empowered in their personal finance journey. I think it's very important that once you get to a place of knowing yourself, knowing your money, that you're able to return that and share it with other people. So that's definitely my why.
So I'm Linda Mensah. I am a money coach and the founder of the Sika platform. So I created this platform to provide financial education for immigrants living in the UK. I am an immigrant myself, an African immigrant, and on my own personal finance journey, I realized that some of the money advice out there didn't really take into consideration my finances as an immigrant. And I know money is money, people spend money differently, and several factors affect how we spend money. And certainly one's immigration status can be a factor about that. So I wanted to talk about money from that point of view. There is also a bit of a knowledge gap within certain communities of the immigrant community, certain patches of the immigrant community, I should say. So my aim is to be able to bridge that gap, make sure that every immigrant is empowered, have all the right information to be able to lead a life that's suitable for them and make an informed decision to live a life that's suitable for them. So that's why I do this. My main aim is to make sure that every immigrant has got that awareness and that information to be able to move on with their lives.
So before I move on to the next segment, can I just get you to tell the audience a little bit about where they can find you if they need you? How do they best get in contact with you?
So I'm on Instagram as Natalie Scott Empowers. I'm there daily, weekly, all the time. So that's the best place to be in contact with me, and also via my website, which is nataliescottempowers.com. LinkedIn as well, and Facebook under the same name, Natalie Scott Empowers. And yeah, you can shoot me an email as well. I'm there.
I'm on Instagram and Facebook at the Sika platform, and also you can email me at info@thesikaplatform.com. So what we provide at the Sika platform is money coaching that allows individuals to be able to identify their own patterns of behavior about money and then find their own wisdom about it to be able to move forward. I also offer a step-by-step guide for creating a spending plan for yourself, savings and a debt payoff plan.
Amazing, thank you so much, ladies. So let's get stuck into it. My first question is for you, Natalie, and you mentioned something, and I'd just like just like a little bit more of understanding about it. You mentioned money mindset. What is that?
So in layman terms, money mindset is your relationship with money and how you view it. So it's the language you use, your feelings surrounding money. Usually most people are either going to be at the spectrum of scarcity or abundance, so negative, positive, and it's all about trying to get as many people into a positive arena in regards to their money mindset. So that's why I work with clients to help to get them there. So yeah, it's your relationship with money basically, and how you view money and how you feel about it.
Okay, so your relationship with money, which is important, and I suppose at a time like this, where everything is changing, whether it be income sources, outgoings changing, that relationship is ever important. So what tips would you give to help somebody strengthen their money mindset?
I think before we can go forward, we have to look at our past and forgive ourselves for some of those past money mistakes that we may have. So if you was an impulse shopper, if you was someone that lived paycheck to paycheck and you're trying to come out of that, forgive yourself for the past and now work towards how we can change that in the future. So have a budgeting plan, don't spend all your money at once, like literally give your money direction and it won't run riot.
I like that. Give your money direction, because a lot of the time people are led. You're led by your spending habits, but no, give your money direction. Perfect. Thank you so much. So my next question is, what tools or resources would you recommend for somebody who wants to take charge of their personal finances, that they're on that road to building a positive money mindset? What tools and resources, what do we use?
Well, first thing I would say is Google is your friend, because if anything you want to find out about, you can find it online. And the first thing I would do if I was in that situation is trying to find a community that would accept me. So find people on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook that talk about personal finance and talk about how they can help you. So find experts in that field of money mindset, on money coaching, and really immerse yourself in that information, because it's literally second to none. And obviously if you're from the UK, it can be quite daunting when you're trying to find out this information. There's a lot of Americans that are talking about it, but literally you can find us. You can just Google UK finance, personal finance. So that's one of the first things I would suggest. Secondly, if you want to learn anything, always open a book. There's so much information out there in books, such as Rich Dad Poor Dad, The Millionaire Mindset, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. These are just some of the books that I've read that have helped me on my personal journey, and it can definitely help you on yours as well.
Amazing, thank you. So you mentioned like Google and books and stuff. Sometimes that might be a bit overwhelming. Is there somewhere where someone can go to access a list of these useful resources?
I have a newsletter myself that I send out on a weekly basis, Friday mornings, and I have a list of resources that's always in there. So if you just want to literally cut out all of this and that, you just want to get straight to the source, do sign up via my website and the list will be sent to you.
So I've heard you speak about this thing called an emergency fund. Can you tell me a little bit more about that, please?
So firstly, emergency funds are really, really important, number one, and it's something we should all have. What it is basically a buffer. It's a nice little cushion in your bank account of money that is reserved for emergencies only. So you cannot touch it for a holiday, you cannot touch it to buy a new bag. It's literally just for emergencies.
Okay, so how do we work out this amount? So is there a set amount that we need to keep? Do you recommend if someone turned around and said, yeah, my emergency fund is £50?
Well, so experts do suggest 3 to 6 months of your expenses is a good emergency fund. Okay. And I do agree. However, I know that can be quite daunting to when you work out your expenses for the month and times that by 3 or 6, that is a lot of money, right? So I suggest have a starter emergency fund, and that's of £1,000, because when you think of most of our daily emergencies, whether it's our car breaking down or we need a new fridge, it won't exceed £1,000. So I think have £1,000 as your starter emergency fund, and that will keep you out of debt.
Amazing, thank you so much. So start small, and then that will help you. But 3 to 6 months, because I guess that would be useful if, for example, you lost your job. God forbid, but if you lost your job, then at least you know you have those expenses. You're able to kind of get by using your emergency fund. So that sounds amazing.
And it also gives you options as well, because again, we talk about, oh, what if I lose my job? What if I want to change my career? So it's good to have money set aside for emergencies and for what you want to do.
Amazing, thank you so much. Okay, so we talked about emergency fund. So what if I want to move from now, like just surviving or making sure that I'm just surviving, to kind of building wealth? Like, how can I make that transition?
Okay, so there will we go from saver to investor, because we've saved, we've got our emergency fund, and I just want to stress we have to have our emergency fund in place before we invest. Because when we invest and start looking at vehicles that are going to allow us to get generational wealth, it's long term. There's no such thing as get rich quick unless you win the lottery. And then, you know, you've heard the story about lotto winners losing all their worth and all their millions simply because their mindset's not in the right place. So first we need to make sure we've got our emergency fund, and then we can invest. And you're probably going to ask me, what is investing, right?
What is investing? So invest, do I?
Okay, investing is literally putting away money. It can be at a lump sum or it can be on a monthly basis. It's whatever, you know, is best for you. But all it is putting money aside into the stock market, and it's making your money work harder for you, which I want to stress, because when you leave your money in a savings account, we all know what the rates are doing, and we're not getting much for our money these days. So when you put your money in the stock market, you're actually allowing it to grow bigger. And of course, there is a risk. There is a bit of a risk with investing, let's not lie. But if you're investing long term, investing always outperforms cash.
Okay, so you mentioned stock market. Is that me entering the stock market?
It is. So I think due to the pandemic and what's been going on, there's been a lot of people talking about investing and, you know, stock picking, investing in this stock, investing in that stock, and people want to get in on this, right? You know, fear of missing out. But my thing is this: if you've never ever invested ever before, I would not advise you to start picking out stocks, because you probably don't know what you're doing. You probably be like happy that, oh, you've seen it go up, it's gone up today, and then it goes down again the next day, and then you probably think, oh my gosh, let me pull my money out. So what I would suggest, if you're investing, one, it's long term, minimum 5 years. Do not put money in the stock market if you know you're going to need it before then. A stock market is like a massive arena of stocks. And yes, you can pick individual stocks, but if you're a first-time investor, you don't want to do that. What you want to do is diversify your portfolio. So you'd go for something like a fund or an index fund or a tracker fund. They all got loads of different names, just Google them. But a fund essentially is a big box, and in that box, you've got different companies. You've got companies, you've got sectors, you've got regions. So you've got sectors like pharmaceutical, technology. So that's diversification already. You've got regions, you've got the US, you've got the UK, you've got Japan. So it's like a big box allowing you to invest like £50 a month, because some of them take 50, some take 25. So whatever it is, the minimum £50 a month, and you're investing that money across those different companies.
Oh, okay. So I'm not entering the stock market myself, which I don't feel confident doing. But so you mentioned funds. How do I access these funds? So how do I put my money into a fund?
So with this, there's so many different platforms that you can invest on. They're called broker accounts. So you've got like Vanguard, Hargreaves Lansdown. You've got some robo-advisors that most people might be familiar with, like Moneybox, Wealthsimple, Wealthify. These are all different platforms that us as a retail investor, that's what we're called, we can use to invest our money. So for instance, if I go to Vanguard only have Vanguard stocks and funds, but with them, even if it's the S&P 500 or the FTSE 100, it will be available across these different platforms. They just have their own names on it. So Vanguard have a fund called the VUSA, the VUSA, which is basically a Vanguard S&P 500 fund. So what that means is that if I'm investing £50 into a VUSA, it means that I'm investing £50 into the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies in the US. Okay. So it means that I'm not just investing in like Apple alone. I'm investing in Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Netflix. I'm investing in all these companies with my £50 every month. And what that means is if one of those companies have a very bad year, it doesn't matter, because you're investing in 499 other companies that are doing well. Oh. So that way you can just do that and sit back. You don't need to keep checking the account.
Okay, amazing. So investing via a fund, via a specific platform.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So my first question for you, Linda. So I know you work a lot around finance for immigrants. Mm-hmm. So what practical tips would you give to an immigrant that might be struggling with their money or just needs some direction.
Okay, so the first thing I would say to anyone, whether you're struggling or not, is to look out for yourself first. So within our community, it sounds really simple, but within our communities, there is always this sort of obligation to help family, both here and especially back home. So my first thing would be to sort of secure your finances and future-proof your own finances. And that can be in the form of, first and foremost, you having some sort of savings in place, your 3 months your 3 months living expenses saved up. Obviously, once you've got that, you want to be able to increase it and get bigger and bigger buffer. But have that in place for yourself first, because all the statistics that sort of work against us as immigrants, you're probably more likely to lose a job, probably find it more difficult to find another one. So it's even more important that you sort of secure yourself first before you start doing anything else. You're also looking at your relevant insurances, including your life, especially life cover, so that should anything happen to you, well, before a certain age, the plan pays out and then your family doesn't have to have that sort of financial burden placed on them. You also want to look at your pension, whether you're doing it privately or whether through an employer. It's always important to actually review it from time to time. A good time to review it would be every 5 years, whenever you change jobs and whenever there is a change in your income, being up or down. If you use those sort of 3 guides to review your pension from time to time, just to make sure that when the time comes, it's actually be able to sustain the lifestyle that you want. And you also want to look at things like funeral cover. So in most cultures, funerals can be really, really expensive, and it's something that you can easily have a policy for that would pay out a small premium, so that if you are responsible for, if you're lucky to still have your parents around, especially, and you want to make sure that should anything happen, that funeral is actually catered for, because then it's going to be a burden on you. We've heard so many stories. I think most people have got so many stories of where a funeral cost has set someone back on their financial journey. It's wiped out their savings. It sometimes even got them into debt. They've had to borrow to actually bury their loved ones. So these days, there's so many policies out there. Check your home country. If the person doesn't live in this country, you can check your home country as well. So many companies are coming up that are providing that cover. You're better off paying a small premium, £30-35 a month or so, whereby should that happen, which we know is inevitable, is going to happen, should that happen, or some of it, or sometimes even all of it, all the expenses are actually paid off. So those are some of the things that you can do to sort of future-proof yourself, your emergency fund, your life insurance, your pension, and any funeral costs if you know that's coming to you. The other thing I would also say is sometimes help doesn't always have to be financial. You can also provide guidance, assistance, direct people. So if someone within the family needs help, you can sort of talk to them about it, share your own experiences, provide advice and guidance as you would. Maybe a bit of mentoring for the younger ones where it could come up, and then sort of help them to steer their life rather than always be like giving finances, because there comes a point where you cannot, where's that saying that you cannot pour from an empty cup? You also need to make sure that you're kind of sorted in a way to be able to provide that kind of guidance for people. So yeah, those are some of the things that I would say.
Amazing, thank you. Lovely practical tips. Can I just ask, just to clarify, so as an immigrant that's just got your stay and you're setting up everything, and when you talk about pension, is that a state pension, or are you talking about a private pension?
I'm talking about a private pension, so one with your employer. So the state pension, that's there. We don't know whether we'll get it when it's our time, but you haven't got much control over. So the one you have control over is your own pension, so whether through your employer or if you're self-employed, you start a private one where you pay something into it, and then make sure that you're not just relying on state pension, because state pension won't be enough for you.
So that's maybe then seeking out a private pension.
That's correct, yeah.
So I guess if somebody wanted to access these resources, so you mentioned the funeral cover and things like that. So as someone who's maybe new to the country, might not have a support system here, how would they access, or how would they gain kind of access to the right platforms or places
to do that? I think it's all about searching. I mean, as Natalie said, Google is your friend, and again, if you're new, you need to surround yourself with people who you align with financially, or, you know, have the same sort of financial aspirations, or people who've done the things that you want to. You ought to be educating and re-educating yourself constantly. You simply cannot afford not to do that. And whatever financial system from your home country is, it will be different from here. So you need to take the time to actually learn what's in here. So again, Google will be one of the places. Our platform as well is one of those, and then we being on your platform as well. Again, it's all like sharing all of that,
kind of building that network.
Okay,
but so I think you mentioned your platform,
the SICA platform,
platform, so they can maybe join that community.
Yes, that's correct.
And then access those services.
That's correct. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you so much. So I spoke a little bit about someone being new to the country. So I guess my next question is, so if somebody has arrived newly into the country, what would you say are, let's say, their first 3 things, or first, I don't know, 4 things that they need to do, like, to kind of get them set in the right direction financially?
Current account where your money is going into, and at least one savings account where you're putting something on the side.
Okay.
At the very least, those 2 accounts.
So a current and a savings.
And a savings, those 2, because you don't want all the money in a one pot. You want to sort of separate them every month. I mentioned that before. Surround yourself with a good network of people, and people who've done things that you would want to achieve. Keep educating and re-educating yourself, and I would say stay away from credit card and store cards.
Oh, okay. So stay away.
Just stay away from that. It's not. You don't need it, basically.
Amazing. You know, so and I can't remember what it's called in it's called, is it Susu?
Susu, yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Partner. So that's another.
Yeah, that's really true. So again, you need to make sure that it's the right people that you are doing this with.
Right. Yeah.
We've all heard the horror stories with that as well. So if you are into that, then by all means. So that Susu is where you have a group of people come together, and then they all pay. They sort of take turns in taking the money.
Yeah,
so if it's like 10 of us, if it's like 10 of us, 1 month I get £100 from each person. The next month Natalie gets it, and the next month it goes round to do that. Some people, I think it's very good. It's a very good way, especially to build a savings muscle. That is a very good way to do that, especially where, if you don't trust yourself, sometimes when people are starting to save, they don't trust that when they put the money aside, they're not going to go back and take it. But being in such a partnership with the right people, make sure that it forces you to actually save and actually build that savings muscle.
My next question for you, so you talked about store cards, so what advice would you give maybe immigrants that have started to build up debt and I don't know, they need kind of help navigating that whole, because I know that happens a lot of the time. You come and then you might need stuff and you're not making the money as fast as you would like to, and your outgoings, there's that kind of misbalance or imbalance, I should say. And so what advice would you give to somebody who has maybe got themselves into some debt and is trying to navigate that situation?
To start with, so the first thing you have to do is, as Natalie mentioned that as well, is to forgive yourself. I think so. You ought to sort of forgive yourself and realize that whatever decisions you made it based on the information you had at the time, and you've moved away from there. A very simple forgiveness exercise you can do is just writing yourself a letter. It's really powerful. You write yourself a letter and then just say, you know what, this is what I did. I sort of forgive myself and I give myself permission to carve a new path for myself. You could do that with someone else. I mean, you don't have to post the letter. So if you feel there's someone in your life who contributed to you being in the situation you are, it could be like a family member, it could be a relationship. You could sort of write a letter as well and forgive them, because sometimes you realize people are carrying a sort of bitterness around, thinking that, okay, I got into there because of that person, because of that situation that I found myself in, certain relationships or certain family members. So the first thing to do is to forgive yourself, and you can do those forgiveness exercises like simply writing a letter. You don't have to post it. You can keep it or even destroy it after you've done it and then done all the work with it. Once you've done that exercise, or you may not even need to do it, but once that you've passed that stage and you feel like you're not holding any guilt or any shame to move on, then you begin to set up a plan, and then you plan based on your short-term and your long-term goals that you want for yourself. So your short-term might be, I really want to get rid of that particular store card, or I really want to do this. And then maybe your long-term will be maybe to save for a mortgage and things like that. But with regards to the debt itself, what you do is you list all of them, every single debt that you have, to the penny, list everything, and then see what the amount is, physically. Because sometimes it's very easy to say, I think it's 2,000 on that one. Oh, I think it's around 3,000 on that one. But it's good to be very specific, get up-to-date figures, write all of them down. There are a few methods that you can sort of approach it, but I tend to favor what they call the Snowball method, where you list everything into the smallest to the biggest balance. So if you have, 5 different accounts that are in there, you listed them. The reason why I like that is it gives you like a quick win. It gives you that kind of encouragement. So if you have, maybe a debt of 5,000 and another one is like £500, you quickly get rid of the £500 and you can sort of cross it out, and it makes you feel good about yourself, and it encourages you to go on and do progress with it. So if you do that, list them in that order, start to pay them from the smallest, and as soon as you finish the smallest one, you move on to the next one. So you don't ignore the rest. You pay minimums on those, but then any extras that you make, you use towards the smallest one. You get rid of it, and then you move on to the next one, and you keep doing that. Don't worry too much about interest rates at this stage, because it will just mess you up. Because I think this way, you just focus on taking it off, and that is much, much simpler. Now, once you've got a plan and it's working, hopefully your income is still intact, everything is all fine. I would then say look at options of maybe potentially cutting some of the interest rates. That is when you would look at if you can transfer onto like a smaller interest loan, like maybe consolidate onto a cheaper interest loan. For you can try that as well. Maybe moves the debt onto a 0% card. You can try that as well. Now, what tends to happen is most of the time when people are in that situation, their credit might not be that good anyway, so they are less likely to get those facilities, those kind of good rates like 0% for 30 months and stuff like that. You're less likely to get that anyway. If that is the case, don't worry too much about it. Just don't focus on the interest rate and stick to the plan that you already have. But that's just that if you are in the position whereby maybe you've got the debt but your credit is not that bad and you can still get those, then by all means take advantage of them, because you do save yourself some interest rates in the long run, and to be able to do that. And once you've done that, you just need to be patient and just allow the time, enjoy the process. I think sometimes we are really quick to get to the end. How I say I paid off X amount of money in 18 months. It's all those, because the internet is full of those wonderful stories, which is really good, but you just need to tell yourself, what, someone did it in 2 years, it's going to take me 5 years, it's fine. And then enjoy that process, and then again build your savings muscle, your commitment muscle, and enjoy that process, because at the end you will be a better person for it, I think, in general. Again, look at ways of maybe increasing your income. Even if you're not taking second jobs, it could be things, I know within our immigrant community, some cook cook. You can advertise that, and these days on WhatsApp, if you're a good cook, you can advertise. You can maybe cook every weekend, maybe cook a particular dish. People who've got families are busy, they can come pick it up. People do all sorts of things at their church. When they go to church, they have like something in the back car booth where they sell, find ways you can make money that way. Babysit for people, hair. If you've got any skills at all that you have, try and see if you can make some income off it, and that will get you quicker to your debt payoff.
Yeah, I think this kind of pandemic has been like the side hustle.
Yes.
Everyone. Yeah. But it's important to have that. It's important to have that kind of addition to your income, and that addition can also serve as a backup if need be. But that's an amazing tip. Thank you so much. Yeah. So you mentioned budget. So what is a budget? What tips would you give me on creating a realistic budget?
Okay, the first place to start with is to track your expenses. Track it for at least a month to see where your money is going. Once you've been able to do that, you put pen to paper, whatever medium you use, whether you are a paper person, whether you are an Excel person, or app on your phone person, whatever your means, that's irrelevant. Just whatever it is, make sure that you are assigning that. In that budget, you need to make sure that you're being true to yourself. have a look at it, see where the money is actually going, and tell yourself that there's going to be changes. So if according to your budget, you are spending a certain amount in a particular shop, you need to be realistic with yourself, face it and say, okay, going forward with this budget, it's got to be maybe half of that amount or maybe zero of that amount, and just be true to yourself. And you also need to prioritize and tell yourself what's important to you and where you want to spend your money. If you want to have coffee, if your morning coffee is important to you, it's fine. Just put it in there,
Yeah.
but then you may need to cut somewhere else. As long as you are making that decision and you are in control of that decision. I think it's all about that control and you saying, okay, this is more important to me. Maybe I would rather not buy that top, but then have a coffee every day, or maybe have a coffee 3 days. So it's you deciding what's actually best for you. I think it's a conversation you have to have yourself and be really true to yourself. I think that's the main thing, because budget forms the foundation of most, like, basically our money, whether we're able to invest, whether we're able to do anything meaningful. It all starts from there. So I think it's just that conversation of being true to yourself. That's the main point there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I guess I really liked as well, from the sound of it, when you create, even the task of kind of creating the budget, that in itself, that exercise is useful in getting you to really think about what you're doing with your money. And then from there, when you're actually setting your budget, you're now kind of really looking at what you're doing with your money and what you want to be doing with your money. Is that aligning? Is that matching up to each other? So yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today, ladies. Been amazing talk. Really had some good gems from you, some good tips, some good support that I know will help the community. I just want to say a big thank you to the National Lottery Community Fund for making this possible. Thank you to our audience, thank you to our contributors, thank you to everyone that supports us, and please do, like I said, sign up to our mailing list, connect with us all to help us help you be the best versions of yourself you can be. Stay tuned, because like I said, this is the first of many. We've got great talks coming up as well. And if you have any questions, reach out to us. You can find me at New Roots Community Group on Instagram, same on Facebook and via the website. Make sure you connect with Natalie via her Instagram and her other handles, and make sure you connect with Linda as well, and just stay connected. Together we grow, and that's what it's all about. Thank you.